Hi, I'm Amber. This is my very first video for Unconventional Heirloom. I am still kind of getting started. Eventually there will be a blog and some other things that go along with this. For right now, you can find me on the DIY Wood Toys group. So thanks for watching, I guess. I'm going to show you guys today how to make these little stacking wood blocks. Also, I'm tall, so my head's just going to be cut off in every video. It's just going to be what it is. So this is what we're going to be making. These are some really fun little stacking rocks. This was actually the very first set that I made, so you can do it. I know you can. What you're going to need is a belt sander or like a disc grinder. A little hand sander is going to be kind of tough to do this with. And then you'll also need something to kind of cut your wood into blocks to start with. And I'm usually using just little scrap pieces of whatever I have left. That's what all of those initial blocks were cut from. It was just some leftover wood. So these ones were from some little 2-inch alder blocks that I had left over. These little guys are from like a 1-inch alder board. You can do poplar, you can do pine, you can do basswood, you can do maple, you can do whatever you have. It's all fine. And then also I just made one of these today. This is literally just like a 4x4. So whatever you have. This is great for like smaller kids. Again, when you're using for younger kids, I think that this thinner board is a little bit easier. They still look kind of tricky with the edges, but there's a definite top and a bottom to each block, so they stack. And that would be the same case with this one, is that it looks a little bit bigger like a rock, but because it was out of just like a 4x4 slice, there's a definite top and a bottom, and then also still some parallel edges on the sides. So there's a lot of stacking that can still happen easily with this, even though it looks like it would be a little bit more difficult. Whereas these ones, I grinded these ones quite a bit. So like this is probably one of the hardest blocks that I have because it has a flat bottom and then this large sloped face. So this one is a tricky one to try and balance. You can see that these two are actually the parallel faces on this block. There's not many original faces left to make it easy, or like these two, to make it a lot harder to stack. So the more that you do with that, the harder that they're going to be. So a few things that you are going to want to have. So I just have a benchtop sander. This has got the disc, and then it's also got the belt sander on this side. So use my roughed up paper here. These definitely need to be changed out. If you're using a newer paper, it's going to work a lot better for you. So it's just going to take off more material and go through it like that. So this is rough. This is like 120 grit, and you want it to be rough because you're taking away that material. So that's the important part on these, is that it's going to be removing material. So if you're too fine, it's going to take too long to do that. I do start with boards that are already relatively smooth. So these have been planed for that smooth surface. This one was not, so I just went back and just took the belt sander on those faces that were really rough like this, to just kind of sand them on the sander rather than doing it by hand afterwards. But if you can start with a mostly sanded block on your large faces, that's going to help you and save some time in the end. So the other thing I would recommend, I've got my little goggles on, eye protection, gloves, unless you want to lose some knuckles, and then hearing protection as well. So I'm going to stop the video so I can get a little bit closer with this, and then there will be some parts that I'm going to just put together with this, just because the sander's loud, so I won't include that on the video for you. So. Okay, so here's a little piece that I just went over. You saw me moving it around. You can see there is a little bit of fluff left over on the edges here. It's mostly just that my wheels needs to be changed. And then also you're going to go over these with a little sander at the end. So I usually, like I said, I start out pretty smooth in the beginning anyways. And then the other thing you can see, I don't know if it'll focus on that, but there are some little sanding lines just because I am using a rough grit, but I found that actually helps kind of with a little bit of grippiness on the rocks, which makes them a little bit easier to stack. So I try not to sand that off too much. I usually just take a little piece of 220 and kind of go over these little edges. So you probably saw in the video I stopped a couple times to kind of point just the way that my faucets had gone. I ended up with like a little sharp spot, so I just take that little sharp spot and I just put it back right against the sander, and that gets rid of it, and it makes another little face right where that was. So you can see this, because it was a 1-inch board, it's more of like a little gemstone, not quite as rocky, but same idea, same concept. So there's that for you. I'm gonna move this around to my belt sander side and show you that as well. Okay, here is the belt sander side. I do have this little table attached. I will tell you that I don't really use it. I don't use this side as much, so I'm just not as comfortable with it. But what you can do is you could hold a piece to get a specific angle. I feel like it's just not as necessary if you're using the belt sander side. It's easier for me to just hold this kind of at whatever angle. So I do feel like this belt sander site is going to give you some more organic kind of options. Sometimes mine get a little bit funny looking because I have that table set at 30 degrees, and so they're all kind of the same angles, which is fine. You would never notice if you didn't know, but now that I've made a few sets, I do like to make them a little bit more organic. So all I'm going to do with this belt sander is just hold this piece, make sure that you have a nice tight grip, both hands, because this is going to be moving away from you. If it catches or anything like that, especially if this table up, it could hit there and then bounce back at you. Or if you don't, this can just zoom away from you and off into your, in my case, probably over my fence, or it could hit the garage ceiling or kind of anything else that's around you. So make sure that you have a tight grip on what you're doing. And I'm going to just do a little quick video of this one. So let's show you that. Okay, so here's this one I just finished. It is not, I mean, it's pretty like rectangle still. I don't want to spend too much time on this because it'll make the video really long. So, but the more you press in like a corner, the more, oh, I don't know why it's not focusing there. The more variation in the angles you're going to get. I also started with a really rectangular little block. So again, if you just take your miter saw and you drop them in just a little bit of different angles or things like that, that'll help you at the beginning get started with a little bit more irregular shape. You also would have seen me just kind of hold it flat down like this. I had one side on here that was not like sanded, and I'm not going to sand it afterwards just because I'm a lazy sander. So I just went ahead and just put it on there to kind of change that face. Also, I wanted to kind of make this one a little bit harder, so I just took the face and I was holding it down, kind of pushing one side. So it's not exactly parallel anymore. So when this gets stacked in a stack, eventually it'll get to a point where like it's making just enough of a little lean on there that the blocks will fall over. So just try to make it hard for my kids. But anyways, this is the other little kind of way to do it on this belt sander option. Okay, I hope that answers you guys' questions. I know that my other comments were in a like response to another response in another post. So hopefully having this tutorial on the surface can kind of answer some of those questions for you guys. If you have questions about anything that I did or anything that went on in the video, please ask away. Also, if you have requests for other tutorials, like I said at the beginning, I'm just kind of getting started with this, but I do have quite a bit of woodworking experience, and I really love it so far. So anyways, you'll see more tutorials to come. If you have a request, let me know. Until then, thanks. Bye.